On the day of the wedding, my boyfriend broke off the engagement for his childhood sweetheart. I clung to his sleeve in a humble attempt to retain him, but he shook me off harshly, saying, "Cannot we marry any other time? She has been in a car accident and her life hangs in the balance. Can you cease being so melodramatic? The wedding is postponed. We shall marry whenever I return." With these two cold statements, he stormed out the door, not once looking back. The bridesmaids asked me with sympathy, "Faye, will the wedding still proceed? Should we inform the guests of a postponement?" I gripped my wedding dress tightly, yet my resolve strengthened. Why should it not proceed? Is his twin brother not backstage? Let us dress him in the groom's attire, and the wedding shall occur as scheduled. Having dated for merely 1 month, I disregarded my family's objections and determinedly entered into matrimony with Ethan. "Faye, you look beautiful today," Ethan said, his hand gently caressing my face as I leaned happily into his embrace, unaware that this bliss would soon be disrupted by a telephone call. "Faye, I must take this call," he said. Since it was an unknown number, he activated the speaker, expecting a sales pitch, only to hear a woman's faint cry for help instead. "Ethan, I have been in a car accident and may perish. Before I die, I wish to hear your voice once more." I instantly recognized the voice as that of Ethan's childhood sweetheart, Luna. Ethan's heart skipped a beat, while mine plummeted. Several years prior, Luna and Ethan parted ways, and she married abroad. Having served as Ethan's subordinate for so long, I thought I finally had a chance to win him, yet he continued to keep me in suspense, offering no definitive response. It was not until a month ago, upon learning of Luna's pregnancy, that Ethan finally relented and accepted my pursuit with a cold demeanor. Rather than being disheartened by his indifference, I treasured it, immediately informing my parents of my intent to marry him despite our brief courtship. My parents immediately objected. "You have been together for only a month, why the haste? Do you truly know him?" Unbeknownst to them, I had harbored feelings for him for a decade. From the age of 15 to 25, his speech at a high school award ceremony stirred my heart. Despite knowing of his ambiguous childhood bond with Luna, I unwaveringly became his subordinate, hoping he might notice me. This was also why I hastened to marry, as if delaying would mean his imminent departure. I believed today would fulfill my dreams, but that phone call utterly shattered them. Disregarding my presence, Ethan shouted desperately into the phone, "Luna, have you returned to the country? Where are you? Are your injuries severe? Tell me quickly. I will come to rescue you." Luna responded solely with apologies. "I am sorry. Ethan, I am sorry. I should not have abandoned you and left. I had my own struggles. In truth, my marriage to that foreigner was a sham for a green card. My pregnancy was involuntary, forced upon me by him. I am sorry. All this time, I could not let go of you. They said you were in a relationship, and I dared not disturb you, fearing I might affect you both. But a few days ago, upon hearing of your wedding, I could no longer restrain myself, purchased a ticket back, and wished only to glimpse you from afar outside the wedding, content with that. Yet, upon arriving at your wedding venue, I was in a car accident. I now feel my blood draining away. Perhaps this is retribution. Ethan, I love you." After these words, the call abruptly disconnected. "Luna! Luna!" Ethan cried her name in anguish, tears streaming down his face. I had never witnessed such tears shed for me. "She is nearby. I must save her, I must save her." He intended to rush out, heedless of my wedding, prompting me to grab him swiftly. "Ethan! What of our wedding?" I asked, only for him to retort irritably, "Cannot we marry any other time? She is in a life-threatening accident. Can you stop being so melodramatic?" His words, unexpected, unleashed a torrent of aggrieved tears. "But the guests have arrived. You know my family is in business. These guests are CEOs, elderly individuals who flew in specifically to bless us. Am I to go out and tell them the wedding is cancelled and ask them to leave?" He shook me off forcefully, causing me to fall, and sneered, "Simply tell them the wedding is postponed. What harm is there in making those old folks wait a bit? We shall hold the wedding whenever I return." With these two frigid statements, he departed without a backward glance. Left alone, I frantically called and messaged him, "I was wrong, please return, will you?" Return in half an hour, please? When will you come back? I will wait. Yet, to my humble pleas, he responded only with get lost before blocking me. Unable to restrain myself further, I covered my face and wept. The bridesmaids, hearing the commotion, rushed over, wiping my tears while asking, "Will this wedding still take place?" "It must proceed. So many CEOs are outside, waiting for hours, canceling abruptly now would likely offend many. But the groom is absent, what shall we do? Must Faye conduct the wedding alone, becoming the city's laughingstock? If no alternative exists, perhaps we should postpone." The bridesmaids spoke in turn, their words brimming with concern for the wedding. Yet I felt only a chill in my heart. "Ethan, your concern for the wedding pales in comparison to that of my bridesmaids, your care for me far less than theirs." I clutched my dress hem tightly, my gaze resolute. "No postponement is needed, the wedding shall proceed as planned." Hearing this, the bridesmaids thought grief had driven me mad. "Faye, are you serious? How can you conduct it alone? Do you truly intend to take the stage by yourself?" Meeting their sympathetic gazes, I smiled. "Who says I am alone? Is Ethan's twin brother not backstage? Please bring him here." They reacted with shock. "Ethan has a twin brother? Since when? We had no idea." I explained, they were born twins, but the elder suffered from congenital heart disease. Ethan's parents, unable to bear the burden, chose to abandon him at an orphanage's doorstep. Later, as their circumstances improved, they incessantly regretted abandoning that child, who became a persistent source of anguish for Ethan's parents. Loving Ethan as I did, I naturally regarded his parents as my own. Witnessing their daily regret, I could not bear it and utilized my family's network to investigate his whereabouts. Just 3 days ago, I located him and invited him to our wedding, intending to surprise Ethan and his parents on this joyous occasion. Yet, on this day of celebration, Ethan abandoned me for another woman. As I spoke, the door suddenly opened, a tall, lean man entered, his fine hair falling over sharp brow bones, eyelashes like raven feathers, distinct and clear, with dark eyes strikingly identical to Ethan at first glance. Upon closer inspection, however, numerous differences emerged. He was much thinner than Ethan, with more pronounced brow bones, exuding an untamed air in contrast to Ethan, accentuated by a mole near his eye that lent him a more carefree demeanor. Seeing my makeup smeared from tears and my disheveled state, he laughed. The bridesmaids snapped angrily, "What are you laughing at?" "Apologies, are you certain you wish to appear on stage like this?" he replied, prompting them to notice my ruined makeup and rush out to fetch a makeup artist. Unlike a stranger's unease, he sat beside me directly. "Where is the groom?" "Where has my brother gone?" he asked, to which I responded not with words but by placing a suit on his lap. "He is dead," I stated. As he examined the suit, he inquired calmly, "Dead? How did he die?" I replied through clenched teeth, as if venting, "Struck by a car." "Is that true?" "Oh, it seems someone outside was indeed hit by a car, but it was a woman, and not severely, no blood even," he remarked. My hand instinctively tightened on the wedding dress, realizing the woman he described was Luna. I had assumed her injuries were grave, yet not a drop of blood was shed. Her earlier call to Ethan, so dramatic, might convince the uninformed she was near death. Thinking of this intensified my distress, for despite Luna's minor injuries, Ethan still did not return. At that moment, the bridesmaids ushered in the makeup artist for an urgent touch-up. Startled by my appearance, she exclaimed, "How has the bride's makeup been ruined by tears? You rose early for this. Did you argue with the groom?" I replied calmly, "The groom is dead," causing the makeup artist to drop her brush in shock. "Dead?" The bridesmaids clarified, "Not dead, he ran off with another woman." The makeup artist cursed, "Better off dead. The guests outside are pressing, and now that he has fled, how shall the bride cope?" I smiled, "No matter, if he can abscond with another woman, I can marry another man." I turned to Ethan's twin brother, who only then grasped my intent. "What do you mean?" Rubbing the suit in his arms, I said, "You resemble Ethan most closely. I need a new groom, and you are the ideal candidate." But he swiftly returned the suit. "Find someone else, I have no interest in my brother's partner." As he began to rise, I pulled him back. "If you lack interest in your brother's partner, surely money appeals to you? I am an only child, my father is a corporate CEO, my mother a celebrity, and those CEOs outside have all collaborated with my family. For the wedding arrangements alone, my parents spent $3 million, with each banquet table costing no less than $20,000. My family has prepared a dowry for me, 3 apartments, a manor, a villa, over $1 million in cash, and 100 taels of gold. From the wedding gifts outside alone, I could collect over $1 million. Moreover, Ethan and I were together for only a month, never cohabited, have no de facto marriage or property entanglements, and I am not truly your brother's partner now. Are you still uninterested in me? Evidently, my first sentence swayed him. He reclaimed the suit and donned it carefully, saying, "Wife, why did you not mention these conditions sooner?" His rapid shift in demeanor astonished the bridesmaids, Faye. He clearly changed his tune for your wealth. Indeed. Look at his thuggish appearance. Marrying him is worse than marrying Ethan, who at least is a top scholar with a good job. I glanced at him, expecting these remarks to anger him, but he appeared indifferent, merely adjusting his collar and hair. Hey! We are saying all this about you, and you do not retort. He smiled. Retort what? You are my wife's friends, thus my little mothers-in-law, who would contradict their mothers-in-law now? Even if I were to rebut you, it would wait until after the wedding, no? As he spoke, he produced several red envelopes from his pocket. Here, you have worked hard lately, take these, leaving everyone stunned. Ethan's brother, despite his rough appearance, was remarkably adept at handling matters. In contrast, Ethan, outwardly respectable, cared little for the wedding, relying entirely on their efforts. They fell silent, quietly accepting the envelopes. I intervened. Earning money is not easy for you, let me give them the envelopes, but he leaned close to my ear, whispering, no matter, you will support me, right? My face flushed instantly, my ears reddening. No one had been so intimate with me before, and seeing my reaction, he found it more amusing. I wonder how my brother treated you. He did not leave you neglected daily, did he? He mused, prompting me to recall all my intimate moments with Ethan. During high school, when Ethan and Luna's relationship was ambiguous, their arguments would lead him to deliberately touch my head, drape an arm around my shoulders, and twirl my hair with his fingers. I basked in his sweetness then, oblivious that it was merely to provoke Luna's jealousy. Later, in university, they finally became a couple, and I ceased pursuing him, yet their frequent breakups prompted him to summon me for meals or library visits, posting ambiguous Facebook updates, intentionally featuring my hand. Ultimately, I was but a cog in their romance. Luna's jealousy would soon reunite them, and after her marriage and pregnancy, that drama concluded, allowing him to finally be with me. However, during our month of courtship, I was scarcely different from a widow. He consistently declined to meet, citing overtime, and even when I met him for dinner below his workplace, he would depart immediately after, claiming work demands. Yet, his job was secured through my parents' arrangements, and I knew well whether he was truly so occupied. My heart ached, but no matter, let this be the final pang for him. At that moment, the MC arrived to hasten us. Are the bride and groom ready? The wedding is about to commence. I quickly halted him. Wait. The groom's name must be altered, lest during the vows you ask, Miss Faye, do you wish to be with Mr. Ethan forever, for richer or poorer? I refuse. I will not be with Ethan, I declared. The MC paused, seemingly unaccustomed to such an odd request, but professionally replied, very well, to what name should the grooms be changed? I turned to him. What is your name? Surprised I would fully commit to this, he hesitated. I have no name, they call me Sean, to which I responded, then let it be Sean for now. I shall assign you a proper name after registration. At the wedding venue, guests were gathered in merriment. I walked the red carpet hand in hand with my father as per protocol, and after I ascended the stage, Sean approached from the opposite side. At that instant, all eyes remained fixed on the bride, effusively praising my beauty that day. Only when I stepped forward and my father handed me to him did they begin to notice him. Oh, what a perfect match, a talented man and a beautiful woman. Perhaps due to his striking resemblance to Ethan, or because the guests were predominantly from my side, no one discerned that the wedding featured a different groom. Yet, secrets cannot be contained indefinitely. during the tea ceremony, our ruse was uncovered as I offered tea to my in-laws. Father, mother, please partake of the tea. They did not accept the tea, nor did they glance at me, their gazes wholly fixated on Sean. My father-in-law rubbed his eyes incessantly, reddening them, staring intently at Sean, his body trembling. My mother-in-law, tears preceding words, paled and stood motionless, nearly fainting from weeping. My heart sank, confirming that only parents can identify their twins. Sean had been recognized. Their prolonged refusal to take my tea sparked murmurs among the guests. What is this? The mother-in-law rejects the bride's tea? Indeed. Faye's marriage to their family is already a step down, yet they dare intimidate her. Exactly. Do they think her family is easily bullied? My mother-in-law still withheld acceptance, gazing at me with resentment, her eyes seemingly questioning. How did you find him? Why are you marrying him? What of Ethan? The audience below pitied me, yet only I understood that my in-laws were not asserting dominance. Rather, I feared they might publicly reveal the truth. You are not Ethan. Are you the child we abandoned? How can you marry her? She is your brother's girlfriend. After all, which parents could accept their daughter-in-law marrying another son? Should the truth reach those below, our family's reputation would be tarnished, impacting my parents' company. Yet, as my palms sweated from nerves, Sean suddenly released my hand and offered the tea to them. Father, mother, please partake of the tea. Hearing the child they had personally forsaken call them father and mother, offering tea with his own hands, something they dreamed of and yearned for even in death, moved them to sudden, heart-wrenching sobs, and they tremblingly accepted the tea, ceasing their inquiries. Sean squeezed my hand swiftly, signaling me, understanding. I poured another cup. Father, mother, please partake of the tea, which they accepted without hesitation, signifying their acceptance of my absurd groom substitution and my marriage to Sean. Finally, the MC commenced the vows. Ms. Faye, do you wish to be with Mr. Sean forever, for richer or poorer? Fortunately, I had only written Mr. and Ms. on the invitations, so throughout, no one noticed Ethan had abandoned me, instead immersing themselves in the wedding's joy, continuously offering blessings. After the banquet concluded, night had fallen, guests departed, heavily intoxicated, supporting one another, while my in-laws remained, tearfully embracing Sean, asking how he had fared these 20-plus years, whether his illness had healed, if he attended school, where he earned a living, and why he was so thin. Unlike his earlier deference during the tea ceremony, Sean pushed them away. Whether I have fared well or not is no concern of yours. My mother-in-law broke down, sobbing. Child, did you not just offer us tea? Does that not mean you have forgiven us? He replied coldly, I merely feared you would reveal the truth before the guests. I could not let my wife lose face. That tea signified no forgiveness, only a means to silence you. My parents, still unraveling the situation, were interrupted as Ethan arrived, weary from travel. Seeing the banquet hall empty and guests gone, he initially intended to demand, why have all the guests vanished? Restrained by my parents standing before me, he moderated himself, humbly explaining, Father, mother, an old classmate had an accident here. I had to leave Faye to assist her first, but I am back now, and the wedding can proceed. He added, but where have the guests gone? Did they not wait for me? Well, they are CEOs, so it is unsurprising they would not honor me. Fortunately, both sets of parents are here. Let us swiftly conduct the wedding now. He assumed my parents would continue to indulge him as before, but they did not comply, instead asking in shock, what exactly is happening here? My in-laws approached as well, equally desperate to understand what had transpired, why the wedding suddenly featured a new groom, their long-sought-other son. Yet Ethan, oblivious to their intent, persistently urged me to proceed with the wedding. Unable to hold back, I mocked, did you not intend to break off our engagement for your ex-girlfriend this morning? Why now hasten me to hold the wedding? His expression shifted instantly. He never anticipated I would expose him before both sets of parents. Ignoring my parents' presence, he roared, Faye, can you not be kinder? I did go to save my ex-girlfriend this morning, so what? She had an accident nearby, should I not have gone to her aid? At that moment, my parents reacted, pointing at him and scolding, Ethan, Today is your wedding day, yet you abandoned my daughter to rescue your ex-girlfriend? What concern is her accident to you? Are you a policeman or doctor? Was your intervention necessary? You know this is the city center, be it a person or a dog in an accident, traffic police would arrive instantly. Was it your place to save her? Even if humanitarianism compelled you to check on her, could you not wait until after the wedding and toasts? Can you not prioritize? Were you content to leave your fiancé here alone, subject to others' gossip? These words from my parents left him reeling, his face flushing red, then turning mottled with blue and purple. I added, how could he not prioritize? He discerns perfectly in his eyes, Luna is paramount, what am I to him? Hearing this, Ethan gritted his teeth, Faye. Can you stop this? I am back now, am I not? Do you still wish to hold the wedding? At that instant, his phone rang, he hastily hung up with a guilty air, undoubtedly Luna calling. No wonder he suddenly urges our wedding, he aims to rush back to care for Luna. He expected my usual humble pleas, but I said nothing, my gaze harboring only hatred and coldness. His heart jolted. This was the first time I regarded him so, unlike my past looks of appeasement. Yet he persisted stubbornly, Faye, I ask you one last time, will we hold the wedding? Before my parents could berate him, I replied firmly, no, leave. Fine. Faye. Do not regret this. Recall how humble and base you were pursuing me. Even if you kneel or beg in tears later, I shall never marry you. With that, he advanced to drag his parents away. Father. Mother. Let us go. Yet his parents shook him off harshly, incredulous, he stared, Father. Mother. What does this mean? She refuses to marry me, and you will not leave with me? Then, they uttered words that shocked him beyond this lifetime. Leave? Why leave? Faye is our daughter-in-law. Today is our son's joyous day with her, do not disrupt it. Ethan, unbelieving, widened his eyes, Father. Mother. What are you saying? Am I not your son? Yet, as their words fell, Sean abruptly embraced me from behind, resting his head on my shoulder, whispering tenderly, Wife, it is late, when shall we consummate our marriage? Ethan, moments ago clamoring to depart, fell silent at this sight, standing dazed, his vacant eyes fixed on us, cheeks trembling involuntarily. Sean's breath tickled my ear ambiguously, never having been held so, I trembled, instinctively seeking to push him away, but he tightened his embrace. To Ethan, however, it appeared as coy flirtation, a surge of nameless fury propelled him forward to separate us. Faye. You are my wife, how can you embrace another man? He exclaimed, but I shoved him away harshly, regarding him with only indifference. I am married, bearing no relation to you, even if there were, I would be your sister-in-law. Sister-in-law? At this title, he stared at Sean in disbelief, at a face so akin to his own. Pointing at Sean, his voice quivered, he is my twin brother. When did you find him? I sneered, days ago, I found him in the slums, I intended to surprise your family today, but your Luna surprised me instead. The guests outside pressed me, and you ignored my calls, thus, I had to replace the groom. Hearing this, Ethan's anger subsided, even giving way to relief. I knew it, how could you marry another? It must be because I was absent, leaving you no choice but to use him as a stand-in, right? He resembles me, so guests would not notice, he said, still speaking condescendingly. You cannot live without me, how could you wed another? Very well, apologize to me, and I shall arrange a make-up wedding, how about that? As for your wedding with my brother, I will not pursue it, you were compelled, after all, he said, expecting me to cling to his sleeve humbly as before. But now, I sneered, grasping Sean's arm, husband, let us retire swiftly, do not let him delay our auspicious moment. Hearing this, Ethan's emotions surged anew, he seized my arm, what do you mean? Faye, he is merely my substitute. Surely you do not intend to make this pretense real. Sean, less temperate, saw Ethan grasp my hand and, angered, struck him with a fist, what pretense? My wife and I are genuinely wed. Ethan, clutching his face in pain, shouted, "You are but my substitute. Were it not for my sudden business today, I would stand beside her." "What are you?" I did not reply but activated the remote, displaying today's wedding video on the large screen. It showed me entering happily in my gown, my father handing me to Sean, and our shared smile, akin to a deeply enamored couple. Seeing this, Ethan's heart seemed to constrict. Then, during the tea ceremony, it was evident my in-laws recognized Sean was not Ethan, yet they accepted our tea and consented to our union. Finally, in the vow segment, the MC named not Ethan but, "Do you wish to spend your life with Sean, for richer or poorer, in sickness and health?" To which I firmly answered, "I do." The next moment, we kissed amidst guests' blessings. Ethan had not yet broken down, but the wedding replayed before him carried an impact no less than Sean's earlier embrace. He stared at the screen in disbelief, lips paling, bitten until they bled. "Impossible, this cannot be, he is merely my stand-in. Why does the MC call his name?" Sean twisted the knife further. "Did you not claim we were acting? Whose performance includes such a prolonged kiss?" Embarrassed, I pinched his waist. "The elders are still here, why say such things?" Ethan, still incredulous, paled and trembled. Then, footsteps sounded outside, and as we turned, I instantly recognized Luna. Presently, she wore a luxurious white dress, high heels, heavy makeup, and held flowers. Gazing at Ethan with affection, glancing at my gown, she assumed Ethan and I had wed, her face falling. She approached Ethan, her voice hoarse with grievance. "Ethan, I fell asleep in the hospital. Waking, I found you gone, and you did not answer my calls. I surmised you had come to marry her. Congratulations on finding your happiness. I am here to bid farewell, as I am leaving the country." Though her words rang sincere, her attire suggested not farewell but disruption. I countered, "Dressed thus, you seem less here to part than to ruin my wedding. You disrupted this morning's ceremony. Do you intend to spoil the evening's make-up event too?" Luna lowered her head guiltily, yet feigned pity. "I did not. Faye, how could I be such a person? I genuinely wish you well. Today's accident was purely unintentional." "Accident? Your accident is remarkably adept. I see no injuries, yet you arrive in heels, beautifully adorned. What then of your phone claim of impending death, urging Ethan to see you one last time?" More guilt-ridden, Luna wept incessantly. "I did not. Truly, I did not. I was in pain then, thought I would die. Ethan was my greatest concern, so I asked him to see me one last time. I did not mean to ruin your wedding." She glanced at Ethan, who predictably sided with her. "Faye, who permitted you to speak to Luna so? She is still a patient. Do you truly wish to drive her to death? How venomous you are." A faint smile curled Luna's lips, unnoticed, as she persisted in her pity act. "Ethan, then I shall leave. My presence here may disturb you. I regret not witnessing your wedding, but seeing you happy suffices. I am going. Do not seek me again." She turned to depart, but her steps were deliberately slow, clearly awaiting Ethan's call. I sneered, preempting him, "Miss Luna, please wait." All looked at me, perplexed. Why detain her? To scold her? Luna halted instantly. Regrettably, it was not Ethan who stopped her, but no matter if I rebuked her, Ethan would surely defend her. She turned back, but contrary to her expectation, I did not scold her. Smiling, I said, "Actually, I did not marry Ethan. I substituted the groom today with his brother," leaning on Sean's shoulder, radiating sweet bliss. "Ethan just sought to wed me, but how could I consent? However, since he is so eager to marry, it matters little with whom. You are dressed so beautifully now. Why not marry here? His parents are present, and can partake of your tea." Ethan could not believe such words issued from me. He never imagined that I, who loved him so, would now relinquish him to another. Hearing this, Luna's smile nearly broke free as she lifted her skirt and approached Ethan, whose displeased face bore no joy of receiving a bride. Yet Luna reached him, tugging his sleeve. "Ethan, in truth, I have never forgotten you these years." She then addressed my in-laws. "Father, mother, I shall honor and respect you henceforth," but they glared. "No need. Did you not say the same to your first-in-laws, only to divorce?" All knew of Luna's past abandonment of Ethan for a foreigner. Tears streamed down her face as she looked at him, a vision of delicate sorrow. Ethan, ignoring her, gazed at me defiantly, especially at Sean holding my hand. Fine. Since mother and father are here, we shall marry today too. He pulled a chair, seating his parents. Father, mother, let the new daughter-in-law offer you tea. His parents, unwilling, roared, offer tea? Why should a twice-married woman, once pregnant, who ruined your wedding, enter our household? They grasped Sean's and my hands. This is our daughter-in-law. We are the family. If you persist in marrying her, disown us as your parents. Nonetheless, Luna offered the tea, but they did not glance at it, even flinging it aside. Seeing our joyful family of 4, Ethan recalled the screen's tea ceremony, where they accepted Sean's and my tea. Clearly, you recognized Sean was not me during the wedding. Why accept Faye's tea? His parents replied bluntly, no reason. At least Faye does not ruin weddings or eagerly play the mistress. Ethan hastened to support Luna, seeing her weep so, and observing Sean and me discuss honeymoon plans. His fury erupted, prompting a bold declaration. I care not for your consent, I shall take her to register immediately. Henceforth, Luna is my wife. He added to me, from now on, we have no ties. I ignored him, continuing to ponder, Yulong Snow Mountain or Jiangnan water towns? He pulled Luna to leave, but his steps noticeably slowed. Luna, assuming it was concern for her heels, felt uncontainable joy. After their complete departure, my in-laws held my hands, apologizing incessantly. Sorry, Faye, we failed to raise this son well, causing you grievance. I smiled. No matter. Fortunately, I did not marry Ethan, or how would I have endured married life compromising? Luna's arrival was not entirely ill. I squeezed Sean's hand. Moreover, I find him quite decent. My parents approached Sean, advising, you lack a house or car, stay with us for now, and we shall purchase them later for you. Though he owns no property, I do. My parents' intent was likely to monitor Sean and set rules, to which he acquiesced. Very well, thank you, father and mother. I seized the moment. By the way, Ethan's job was my arrangement. His continued presence at our company is unsuitable. Shall we have him resign, with 3 extra months' pay? My father nodded, naturally. Were it not for your request, with his qualifications, why would he join my firm? He then courteously asked my in-laws, any objections? None. We now recognize only this son, his actions concern us no longer. Their eyes, laden with guilt toward Sean, persisted in questioning him despite his reluctance to forgive, ceasing only when we returned to the new residence. Shall we register tomorrow? Sean refrained from overstepping, simply holding me as we slept peacefully. Wife, shall we get the certificate tomorrow? Yes, and change your name too. The next day, we rose early to register, but the Civil Affairs Bureau entrance was thronged with onlookers. What is happening? Why is a foreigner shouting there? It seems a woman married a foreigner but, without divorcing, secretly returned to wed her ex. The foreigner discovered this, flying in overnight. Alas, how pitiful. Is this not bigamy? Certainly. The foreigner alerted the police, who have arrived. My heart jolted. Were they not speaking of Luna? Tiptoeing to peer inside, I saw police dispersing the scene. Luna was pushed out by a foreigner, Ethan escorted alongside suspected of bigamy, both were required to give statements. Seeing them emerge, the crowd pointed at Luna. Hey! That is the woman, right? Married abroad yet daring to secretly remarry here? Such disgrace abroad. Ethan's face was grim. Moments ago, he learned the full truth. Luna's tales of a sham marriage and green card were lies. She and the foreigner were mutually enamored, and her forced pregnancy claim was false. Unaware of the truth, the crowd pointed at Ethan. Hey, that is the male mistress, right? Oh, how shameful. Indeed. It is spreading outside now. She might still flee abroad, but what of him? TSK. Ethan, never having faced such a plight, prized his reputation. How could he tolerate such mockery? He looked up, eager to explain he was deceived by Luna. Yet, he saw me in Sean's embrace. My expression, identical to the amused onlookers, caused his mind to buzz, blood surging upward, his pale face turning livid instantly. As they were led to the police car, we hastened inside to obtain our certificate. Seeing this, he panicked, approaching me despite the police. Faye. Do not marry him. Do not register. But the next second, officers pulled him back. Come to the station now. He pleaded humbly with the police. Comrade, I am wronged. I committed no bigamy. That is my wife. Please release me, or she will register with another. Please, let me speak to her, or she will truly no longer be mine. The police dismissed him. She was never yours. Her husband stands beside her. Stop your nonsense and come with us. Resisting, he cried out, Faye. Do not register. Please wait. When I return, I will marry you. I will not abandon you this time. I promise the grandest wedding. Do not marry him. He grew up in slums, utterly unworthy of you. He must be after your wealth. Please, Faye, do not go in. There is still time. Wait for me. I never wanted to marry Luna. Your wedding to another yesterday provoked me, leading me to wed her in spite. I thought you would be jealous and retain me. My fault. Now, knowing the truth, I see my heart clearly. Regardless of his pleas or cries of my name, I remained unmoved, pulling Sean directly into the Civil Affairs Bureau. Faye. Return. You cannot do this. I am your husband, the one to enter with you. Faye, come out. Despite his desperate struggle, heedless of onlookers, he was overpowered and dragged away by police. Meanwhile, I obtained the marriage certificate and emerged side by side with him, gazing at the name I bestowed upon him, Sean. After his statement, Ethan rushed out, fearing I had registered, yet, I posted the certificate on Facebook, wrenching his heart as he frantically sought me. He scoured the city, visiting places I had often mentioned wanting to explore with him, yet found no trace of me. He even went to the company, thinking I was at work. Not only did he not find me, but he learned he was sacked, his role soon to be Sean's. He yelled at former colleagues, why? He is just a factory thug, why replace me? They retorted without indulgence, you still think you are Miss Faye's fiancé? Daring to shout at us, get out. Colleagues who once elevated him now treated him oppositely, mirroring my past obedience and compromise, now refusing to aid him, instead marrying another. This vast disparity left him unmoored. Returning home with his belongings to inquire of my whereabouts, he found his parents absent, video calling them only to see them honeymooning with us, their words full of praise for us. This daughter-in-law is wonderful. Fearing our loneliness at home, she brought us along. This place is beautiful. We cannot return to cook for you. Make do, they said, hanging up, heedless of his joblessness and citywide ridicule. Even his parents' attitude shifted. Over years, he knew their guilt toward his brother. Henceforth, they might recognize only him, perhaps? Gazing at the empty house, Ethan could bear no more. He could have had a wife devoted solely to him, a blissful family, a perfect job, an envied life. But now, all was lost his own doing, yet he never foresaw my heart changing so swiftly. I had been so forbearing, always indulging him. At this thought, he covered his face and wept. If given another chance, he would cherish me, but, where is there a pill for regret? Later, Sean grew accustomed to his name, working diligently at the company without Ethan's airs, earning everyone's fondness. Ethan, as he once fixated on Luna despite her marriage, now fixated on me though I was wed, making me his idealized love. But I did not indulge him, deleting and blocking him, abstaining from Facebook. Even mutual friends knew not our happiness. Without my updates, Ethan initially inquired frantically, only to learn I was pregnant. Utterly disheartened, he bought a ticket and vanished, never to return. Later, rumors emerged of his clandestine affair with Luna, assuming his nature unchanged. News then broke of his attempted murder. Luna, rendered a vegetable by him, was abandoned by her husband, who divorced her, leaving her to perish in hospital for life. Ethan faced life imprisonment, visited by none. Though his parents retained some affection, they were occupied caring for me and their grandson, unable to travel abroad. Though Sean had not forgiven their abandonment, he did not bar them from seeing their grandson. Our family, in a way, spanned 3 generations together.